Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. It's your boy JC. I'm in the mood, love. Yeah. Lately I've been constantly thinking about you, babe. You drive me crazy, yeah. And girl, I want this. Got me all up in my feelings. Oh, what a feeling, yeah. I knew the first time I laid eyes on you that you would be here forever. I'm not being arrogant, and I still can't take my eyes off you. 'Cause you made me better, so much better. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime, baby. I love your kindness, I love your confidence. Ooh, you're the finest. So glad you're mine, yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't wanna be with nobody else. Give me your love, that's all the wealth I need. Baby, you're priceless to me, yeah. To love you for a lifetime. I'm in the to love you for a lifetime, yeah, 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 yeah. Whoa. Promise I'ma be around, I'ma always hold you down. Won't you come and hold me now? Won't you come and hold me now? I just got no cool, yeah, I know I got a rule, but I always keep it.
What's up, everybody?
Oh, wow.
I know I didn't do my normal
Yeah, but
thing.
you point at me like go and then you jump in there.
Yeah, that's something. What's going on, everybody?
Okay.
Happy Monday. It's Mike and Wendy, and you are in the Marriage Shop. And I'll tell you right now, go ahead and it's second Monday, and we've designated second Mondays for singles, right? But yeah, if you're not single, you might want to stay on for this one because we're talking about clutter and residue, and sometimes we'll bring that clutter and residue on through singleness into married life. So you might as well bring it on. You might as well stick around and share this red clutter residue. Yep, it's all the same. Yep. So how are you? What's going on?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I'm stuck on residue. That wasn't
I mean, do we
shared.
have to start? I know,
I
but I'm just
know.
saying.
It sets a different tone. Residue, it reminds me of like soap scum.
Yes.
Yes.
If there's a difference between if there's a difference between residue and clutter, y'all let me know. Put it in the chat. But whatever it is, whether it's residue or clutter, most people are not trying to have it stick around. I'll say that.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's
Mm-hmm.
fair. So, like you said, he's Mike.
That's
I'm
it.
Wendy. We're in the marriage shop. We missed you guys last
Oh
week.
yeah.
Hopefully you had a great holiday and your summer is off to a great start. And we know a lot of people travel during the summer, especially when school's out and there's so many different things happening. And then, hey, the pandemic is essentially, or at least we're not on shutdown anymore. So let's just say that. So people are getting back to traveling. So hopefully you have an opportunity to do something that you enjoy. So anyway, it's hot here. We still have some remnants, some residue of Hurricane Elsa.
I think Elsa is way gone.
No, these are
We
still
on to
remnants.
no, we on to like
There's another tropical storm.
no, but we just have regular old, summer thunderstorms now,
Yeah, well, it's on
which I
again,
think
off
are awesome,
again. I mean,
by the way.
it's like the sky opens up, it rains really, really hard for a short period of time, and then the sun comes out. It's just strange. But
It's
anyway, so
lovely.
that's what's happening down here in Evans. We'd love to know what it's doing where you are. So it is the second Monday in July.
It is.
Yes. What are we talking about?
Ooh, that all feels so sudden. I feel like
Didn't you
I,
already say?
I said, well, I did say it was second Monday, but I wasn't ready. I wanted to kind of glide into that what we're talking about. Then.
Oh,
Well,
I
well,
see.
I guess
See.
you're right. I did kind of like just boom, put it out
Yeah,
there.
you did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So before we get into that, we want to just thank the Dubois once again. So if you were
Mm-hmm.
here with us the last time, we had some guests. That was the last time, right?
That was the last time. Week for
Yeah,
last.
we had some guests and we really enjoyed having them. London and Cheryl Dubois. So if you missed that, you might want to catch that one. But it was good. It was good talking
Yeah.
about blended family. So if you happen to be in a blended family and you have been waiting for years for us to talk about it, but you weren't on last Monday, you might want to check that video out.
Yeah.
Also, if you haven't followed us or subscribed to our YouTube channel, we want you to do that as well. It's The Marriage Shop. And if you don't follow us on Instagram, take some time to go ahead and follow us on Instagram.
Yeah. And I know some people thinking, what? YouTube channel? Absolutely. And oftentimes people will ask us about what we've talked about, what types of things we cover.
Yeah.
It's almost all there on YouTube, actually. In fact, we're live on YouTube right now as we speak.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So if you, for some reason, can't get Facebook or you got locked out of Facebook, or somebody that doesn't have Facebook, YouTube is an option.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And so, hey, Lisa McNeil, Hot and Human in VA, just like VA, 757, baby. So, hey,
That's
good to see you up
That's
here.
good.
Hopefully, Brian is close by. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm telling you now, seriously, share this because you're going to get to the point you're going to say, man, I wish I shared it. And then whoever you're trying to bring on, they're going to be like way late in this conversation. So just go ahead and just share it right now.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right.
And I think we need to clarify too that when we talk about singles, we also mean people who might be in relationships but aren't married yet. So if you're not married, we're putting you in that category of being not married yet, single.
Yeah, think of that second Monday singles. And by the way, there've been a couple of married folks who say, well, I'm not single, I'm not coming on. Well, I mean, we like to think of this as a dialogue. And so there's a lot of wisdom that is shared here. And so it's not about always like what you can come to receive. Sometimes it's what you come to drop off too.
That's good. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this topic really isn't unique to singles or people who are not married,
AKA singles.
But some of us that are married also deal with this in some way, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm excited to talk about it. So
yeah, and the difference is, I think, if you're married, the way you go about handling this is totally different, perhaps, than if you're single. Right? Potentially, the way that you kind of work through some of these things. Because, I like to think of the singles conversations as what you do before you say I do, before you are committed, you're in a covenant. Because before it's a covenant, I mean, let's just face it. It's just kind of a promise.
Yes.
It's an agreement. And so, I'm gonna just be totally frank about it, right? before you get married, there's an out.
Mm.
But once you get married, I mean, if it's a true covenant relationship, then what that has said is, I accept this person, right, as who they are, what they bring, right, and so, yeah. So I mean, I think that's the key difference, right, and so that's why some of these topics specifically we talk about them is for singles, but truly, as Wendy said, some of these things do carry on throughout the relationship. So, yeah.
Well, that's interesting.
What?
So
What's up?
this person says, are you two in an abusive relationship? Just putting on a front. So this must be somebody that's not usually on, but is on right now.
Oh, I see.
So just to clarify, nope, not an abusive relationship, not putting on a front.
Yeah.
But thanks for asking.
Appreciate that. All right. So
yes.
we'll see where that goes. Right?
Yeah. I mean,
but that's from our YouTube feed, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah.
So yeah, see, we say YouTube and
boom, there it is.
there it is.
All right. So anyway, so you ready?
Yeah. So Justice Smith, thanks for tagging Lawana Wilson. Hopefully she sees that and joins us. So tonight we are talking to the not yet marrieds or the in a new relationship. What's up, Brian McNeil?
What's up, B?
And we are talking
about being free to love completely. One of the most difficult things when you're one of the greatest challenges going into a new relationship. Yeah. I mean, we talk about a lot of things in terms of relationships and challenges, communication, and all those things. But you know what the biggest challenge tends to be? It is the residue from that last relationship. Right? A lot of people go in and they are a lot of the decision making is about trying to I don't know, like not have that thing that happened before happen in this new relationship. Yeah. So now you're going to put in all the safeguards and all the things that were, that you identified as wrong in that last one. And this one, you're not going to get caught out there that way again a lot of times, right? If you got hurt, you don't want to get hurt again. If you're abandoned, you don't want to be abandoned again, right? Yeah. If you lost all your money, you don't want to lose all your money again, right? Right. And so you kind of have a situation where you are now beginning to make decisions today based on yesterday's reality. How does that work? Right? And in fact, how many of us have seen that? Yeah. I think that many of us have seen it. Many of us have been those people. Are those people, right? Yeah, yeah. And so it's really important to really kind of think about this or talk about it. Like, how do we end up where we end up? Why are we making the decisions that we make? And so with regard to this specific topic, it is about making decisions based on the person that's standing in front of you versus the one that's in your past. Yeah, yeah. Right? Yep. So, Alprentice Smith says it's a big challenge. Can you be vulnerable without the fear of being taken advantage of? Exactly. Yeah. Right? Because we don't, who wants that? Like, who wants to go through that? Because when you put your all into a relationship, it is really devastating if that doesn't work out for whatever reason. And having a relationship fail in that way ranks up there with some of the things that can be the most hurtful. And so who wants to do that? And so our body and our brain are actually designed to help protect us, right? So what we're doing, it's funny, right? The human body, the brain, it is a data collecting machine. It's just constantly just pulling in information that you don't even know you're pulling in. And it's putting the pieces together, right? And doing all these equations and algorithms. And so when we see something, right, that we believe looks familiar, boom, the brain will often respond and say, nope, seen that. Seen that one. We don't want to go down that road anymore. And so we hesitate, right? We pause, all right? We wait, all right? Go ahead. What's Lisa saying? I can't quite read that.
Oh, it says that's hard. You don't want to charge the next person for the last one's mistakes, but you also don't want to repeat your own mistakes. And I think that's good. I mean, I think that there's this whole element of trust, right? And I think you were kind of getting to that a little bit. Trusting the other person and maybe that broken trust, and then trusting yourself, right? And so it is navigating the space of, okay, well, how did I get here? And will I end up back here?
Yeah.
And so like you're right, Lisa. It is hard. It is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I need to say a few things right up front, right? Because this is not going to be a, hey, throw caution to the wind and jump on in there type conversation. That's not what we're talking about.
Right.
Because to say that would be to not respect and honor what Lisa is saying, what our apprentice is saying.
Mm-hmm.
It is profoundly difficult.
Yeah.
To move forward after you've been hurt, and maybe you've been hurt a couple of times. Profoundly difficult to move forward. Yet we meet new people, right?
Mm-hmm.
It does happen, and people come into our lives, and oftentimes you'll hear, and this is men and women, right? I've heard people say, it's like, listen, that thing is, that's never gonna happen to me again. And so I love this person, but I'm not gonna put myself out there that way.
Right.
Yeah, and that's because what's the impact of that? And y'all tell me, what's the impact of not being able to love completely, to not be able to freely just offer up like everything to somebody? What's the impact of that? So I'd love to hear what your comments are, because it is it's a challenge, and it's easiest to kind of put it in an all or nothing bucket.
It is. It is. I mean, and so we've had conversations with people. I'll just kind of talk while y'all drop those in. But we've had conversations with people who, who are asking the questions, right? How do I let go, or how do I move forward past someone who I know maybe is not good for me, or that is not meant for me, and how will I know? And so, when you're trying to answer those questions, there is no end all be all answer. There is no just one answer solution. Every situation is its own unique situation. So it really just does depend on the people who are in the relationship. So yeah. So Timothy Jones, hey, welcome back. He says, communicating how certain situations make you feel and why you feel that way does a lot to foster a relationship. Also, truly forgiving the person who wronged you before moving on to another relationship helps. And I think that's really key. Thank you for sharing that, because I think that there are two sides to this, and that kind of reminds me of that. The people who move on too quickly and kind of drag all of that stuff with them into the next relationship. So they're the ones that are reluctant to move on, who are, and I won't call it fearful, but hesitant, right? Reluctant or hesitant to move on or to take that dive again. And then there are those who move on too quickly, and who just kind of jump into the next thing because they have a need or a desire to just be in a relationship, and they take all of that stuff, the residue that you mentioned, or the clutter with them. Yes. So, hey, Casey.
What's up, guys?
And Sid, tiring. I agree. Lisa says the same barriers you use to avoid hurt also prohibit your ability to love and be loved completely. Yeah, and that she's speaking directly to your question. And then Sid says there is freedom in letting go. We must trust God that He will protect you. Yep. Thank you for that.
Yeah. All right, Sid, leaning forward into where we're going with that. But to Lisa's point, emotions are a funny thing. Like when you build those barriers to protect yourself from things, it blocks connection to a certain degree. And there's almost no way around it, right? It's like, in order to shake a hand, you have to extend your hand, right? You have to actually be that represents really vulnerability, right? Reaching out, hand open or whatever. You got to release whatever it is that's protecting you, quote unquote, that you believe is protecting you. It's probably the more accurate statement. But it is important. And I think that, coming back from hurt in a relationship, it's a lot like, several things that most of us are familiar with. Some of you are athletes. And if you're an athlete, you know that if you get injured, sports medicine is remarkable, right? You can tear your knee all the way up and have it stitched back together. And the only thing that's stopping you from, and now the new knee, and in fact, Achilles, tendon, same thing, right? My cousin JJ was saying, like, he's waiting for his other one to blow out so he can get that one replaced, because the new one is like, it's just indestructible. So what stops you from performing at your peak after that? Fear. Like, what if it gets injured again? What if it gets hurt again? If you're an athlete, you know that if you hold back, once you get out there to compete, it will fail again. You will get hurt again, maybe in a different way. But if you're not 100% in it, you're going to get hurt. Sounds a lot like relationships.
Yeah,
right?
it does. And I think even with that too is when you hurt one part of your body, you overcompensate with the other parts of your body.
Yeah.
And I think the same thing happens in relationships, right? And so when there is where there is insult, in terms of trust or your vulnerability or whatever, then sometimes the response is to overcompensate.
That's right. And I apologize. That was KC's Achilles. That's right.
Yeah.
That's funny. KC's Achilles. You're funny, KC. So, but yeah, that's exactly right. This overcompensating, right? And so, what does that look like in practical terms? What does it look like?
Yeah.
Right? Maybe it's, that last person, they were on their phone texting all the time. So now I'm gonna make sure that I'm always peeking, trying to figure out what you're doing, who you're talking to, what's that, right? Or maybe it's I'm not going to fully just, maybe I can't just go and work or go to the grocery store and mind my business. I have to always just kind of be vigilant. And who is it? That's it. I think it was Sid. Like, it can be tiring.
Yeah.
Responding to that old relationship when you're in the new one.
Yeah, well, and an interesting thing, right, that we sometimes do, we fill in the blanks with old information, even when it's from an old relationship.
Yeah.
So when the new person or the existing relationship, when they do something that either reminds you of something that you've seen before or causes you to respond in a way that you have before, you automatically fill in the blanks with information, and it's generally old information, right? And so when that person said such and such, this is what it meant, and so now I believe that you're doing the same thing. Or we had a big fight and we were standing at that part of the kitchen by the refrigerator. And so now you and I are standing here by this part of the kitchen by the refrigerator, and it's happening all again. We kind of replay the past, present time to predict the future.
No doubt. Yeah, exactly. And so, but in a way, it's not your fault, right? It's not our fault. We're designed to do that.
Yeah.
We take in information, like I said, data collecting machines. And so it requires a little extra work for us to now to actively, intentionally look at what we have, and to do that work of saying, you know what, maybe I need to assess this for what this is, not what happened before, right? Exactly, Rhonda, triggers, right? And so, and Justice is right. Y'all are killing it today, right? Because all that extra stress and pressure, although that compensating, right? Yeah. It feels like, okay, you know what? This is what I need to be doing, right? This feels right.
Yeah.
But you're damaging something else, right? Yeah. Another way that this really, a good parallel, I think, is another one: car accidents.
Car accident, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Because
if you drive for long enough, somebody's gonna probably hit you, or you're gonna hit somebody, right? And so it is. If you've ever been in a major wreck. And if y'all pick up our book, you can read about Wendy's, because I was there. I witnessed it. I was not in the car.
Yeah.
But when those circumstances reappear, kind of to your point, you can be fearful. And so a lot of people will just push back and try to not drive, right? That's the absolute worst thing that you can do.
Yeah. You
actually have to get back on the road. And you have to get back and you have to face those circumstances that you faced before. And you have to keep driving.
Yeah. Right. Well, so having been in an accident, a lot of people will equate that. For some people, it's like having PTSD, right? But what happens is Because the person had their, so I can tell you exactly that all of the details. They had their signal light on like they were going to turn. This was like on one of the busiest routes in DC. At least it used to be on Rock Creek Parkway, and I hated driving in DC. And anyway, they had their signal light on like they were going to turn. The speed limit was supposed to be like 35 or something on that road, and they were flying anyway. They didn't turn, so I thought they were going to turn. I go to drive. They, so we collide, right? So they hit the front end of my car on the driver's side. And so it took me a while to get back in my car. It took me a while to get back in there and start driving again. I did get back and start driving, but now what that caused is every time somebody's coming at me and they have a signal on, I'm more apt to let them either just drive by or I slam on my brakes. Even now, and that was like 20 something years ago. So it's like, man, even now, when I see that thing, I see it, I recognize it as something. And so my knee jerk response is to hit the brakes or slam on the brakes or hesitate before I proceed. And it's the same thing, right? And so I was kind of talking about, I don't want to call it a conditioned response, but I think we condition ourselves. So it's, I've seen this before, I've been here before, this is what I'm going to do, right? And so the problem with that, though, is if I'm slamming on the brakes and it's not the same situation, I'm actually endangering myself because somebody behind me is not going to know what is happening in my mind, right?
Yep.
They're not going to know what happened in my past. They are in the present. So meeting the past hurt in the present is a challenging thing to do. That's all. But you took me back with the car accident.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you went there though, because okay, class is in session, y'all. There's a little something in traumatic experiences that basically we call like single trial learning. Typically, learning requires repetition, right, and reinforcement.
Yeah.
But there's some things that are so traumatic they require no reinforcement because your brain says, okay, this one right here, if this happens again, this may kill me. So everything about that is recorded. And you notice how Wendy broke down, and if we asked her to keep going, she could break it down in very painstaking detail.
Yes, I could.
Right? Traumatic experience. Well, relationships, although they don't always fit the book definition of trauma, can have the ending of a relationship can have that same type of traumatic impact.
Yeah.
The pain is so hurtful. It is so devastating that your brain does the exact same thing it does if you're in that car accident, because this type of pain can't happen again, or it just might kill me. Right.
Yeah.
And so all those details are right there and they're fresh. You notice Wendy said, when she's in those same situations, she hits the brakes, whatever. We tend to do that. Right. But over time, because what I've noticed when I'm in the car with Wendy, she don't stop driving.
No.
Right. So it's not about forgetting, right? It's very clear to her that things are happening around her, but she keeps on pushing.
That's
and
true.
I'm proud of you for that. You just, I'm in there. I can't even tell. I'm only scared.
You're just driving along. Fine. It's just like, what is happening?
Barely noticeable, right?
Yeah. But I thought they were going to come out.
Yeah.
So Casey said, "Oh, dude on the basketball court told me to expect to miss and be in position. You have to be aware and braced for the crap as best you can." Yeah, and I think that's good, right? And to your point, even when you know what's coming, you have to almost allow it to play out, and I think that's what we're getting at, right?
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Well, see, the thing is, that's the thing. You don't know it's coming. And so a lot of times people, they hold back and they're bracing to be hurt because they've been hurt. And so what it causes them to do then is to not open up and connect. I tell people a lot of times, I mean, if you really, really want to be in your marriage and in your relationship, you have to be willing to take everything that's possible, right? That somebody could hurt you with and hand it to them.
Yeah. Say that again.
I don't know if I can that way, but no, if you but yeah, I mean, if you really want to be in that relationship, if you want to just be free to love somebody, you can't be free to love somebody while you're like protecting those vulnerable pieces. Right. And so you have to be willing to hand those things, the things that somebody could use to destroy you with, you got to be willing to hand those to them and trust that they would never do that.
Yeah.
Right. Now, does that happen? Do you meet somebody, oh, I love you, boom, and you're gone? Probably not, right? But how do you get to that place? How do you know that you're there? How do you even try to move toward that? I think there's a way.
Yeah, I mean, those are good questions, because what you're asking someone to do is, if they've been traumatized and they have a fear of being hurt in the same way again, to move forward, to be open, to be vulnerable, and trust anyway.
Yep. So, right. And some of y'all are like, what? You are absolutely crazy. No chance. Now I'm going over to watch me some Netflix. Right. But there's a way. And so it's not easy though. Right. This is not, quick fixes and things like that. It's not easy, but it does require you to move. If it will ever work, it requires you to move.
Yeah.
Right. So what do I mean? Do we want to use that? Do you want to talk about that one last example? Because I think if the other two didn't really hit home, this one will.
Yeah, I think so. But
Okay.
let me say this to Casey. So the idea is not to be prepared to snatch it back if you need to, right? But it may require that you move back slowly, that you hand it over, but you keep your hands close, and then you gradually move back to a place where you're more comfortable, right? So it's not, here's everything, here's all of me, and is yours, do what you will, and I'm fully trusting. Not everybody is ready for that.
Not today.
I mean, not today. So it's in increments. It takes time, it takes steps, it's a process. Just wanted to say that real quick.
So one more, if the other two didn't really hit home, this will for a lot of people.
Yeah.
If you've ever been hurt, like in church, right? That's kind of one of the closest examples in terms of being vulnerable, going to a place, expecting that you're going to get feel love and trust and all those things.
Yeah.
And then somebody there lets you down.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people after that, it's just like, that's it, done with the church.
Yeah. And it disrupts everything that you ever heard, right? So in a similar way. So even if people have been telling you for years that this is a place where you can be accepted. This is a place where you will be loved. This is a place where you will be covered and protected. This is a place, where there's community, all of those things. And then you're in a place and it turns out not to be that, or it is that. And then you find out something different, or one thing happens to you while you're there. The question is whether or not, does it have to all be true, or does it have to be like parts of it be true? You know what I mean? Is it all or none is what I'm getting at. And it's the same with relationships, right? And so it's when you fall in love, when you find the one, when you get married, it's going to be A, B, C, and D. And the truth is, no one can actually tell you what your experience is going to be inside your relationships.
Yeah.
Sorry, just had to drop that in there.
That's fine. But yeah, but when you sticking with that church thing, right? A lot of people will say, well, the church is flawed, and so they pull away from the church. Well, I mean, truly, it's some of the people, all of the people are flawed in that church. And so, but what we'll tend to do is say, well, because it was this way in this place, now I have to either pull back all the way from this institution, or if I go into the next one, I'm gonna keep my eye on these, and I'm not gonna get so close, and I'm not gonna serve, and I'm not gonna put my all into it. Yeah. Does that sound a little bit like relationship?
Yeah. Or
I think it does.
Hop from church to church.
Right.
So you're there, you go to the next one, and as soon as you see something that looks like what happened at the last one,
gotta go.
Time to go. Yep. And then you move to the next one. That happens in relationships too.
But here's the thing, as we're about to turn this corner now, right? Because you jump from church to church, all right? You'll stop at those corners, right? You'll hold up when it's time for you to like do that crossover.
Yeah.
Circumstances change. People change. God doesn't change.
Oh, that's good.
And so the question is, how much of this are we allowing God to drive for us? How much? Because first we got to clear some of these people off the table, right? So let's take the group of people where there was that little thing that you noticed way back when, and you were like, you know what? It'll be okay, right? That thing that was on your list of things that maybe you wouldn't tolerate, or that thing that you noticed you didn't know, but you're like, before you got married or before you really got close, you noticed this thing and you were like, and they said, nah, it's going to be okay. And you're like, okay. But you had that moment where you were like, that right there, that's a very important thing, right? That's a very important moment. And I'll do it again for y'all. I went real fast. I'll slow it down for you. Right? If you ever have that eyebrow raising moment, that means something, right? A lot of people may call it instinct, intuition, or whatever. I think that, remember, our brain, data collecting machines. And I think God has given us the ability to discern. Some people might call it that.
Yeah.
Like when something is a bit off. And when something's off, it's the next human reaction is often to figure it out. What is it about it? Sometimes, y'all, it don't matter. If it's off, it's off. Ain't yours. Move out. Right. So some of us can think back and be like, yeah, when this thing right here happened, yeah, that was a thing. But I kept going. Right. And so we can't blast past some of those little signals and signs that we get.
Yeah.
But the other thing I want to make sure that we say up front is to seek God first. Seek God first.
Yeah.
Like, not, hey, God, I hope it's her. Please let it be her.
Yeah.
A lot of y'all have done that one, right?
Yeah. Or like when we were talking about it, give me a sign, right? That lets me know that this person is the one. And so then we leave a lot of things to how we want to receive them, right? So I want to believe, however, I can't be wholehearted in my belief. And what I mean by that is we have this desire to be in relationship, right? Whether that's in our relationships or in church. We are human. We were made that way. Now, some of us are introverts, some of us prefer our alone time. That's a whole different topic. But in general, we were built to be in relationship. And so it is difficult for us to be wholeheartedly in a relationship if we're not wholeheartedly being honest with ourselves about how comfortable we are. And so I like that Casey was saying, it's like mac and cheese and that there's all this possibility. However, he knows he would leave with just the same amount of energy. And so the whole idea is, are you really able to give all of yourself and be all in? If in the back of your mind, or there's this one small space that just keeps saying, I still have an out and I have a way out. And I'm not picking on you. I'm just looking at your comment and it's making me think, right? Because we say we want to be all in. We say that we're going to give our all, which is what we're doing when we commit in a relationship and when we marry someone, right? We're saying, I'm all in this. This is between me, you, and God. And this is it. This is our covenant. And I'm not holding anything back. That's what we're saying. But I don't know that everybody knows that that's what they're saying at the outset.
No, because that's not what everybody's saying at the outset, right? They're saying, okay, we're going to do this. However, sign this prenup and let me hold on to this extra house. And for some people, it's let me hold on to these extra contacts just in case I need them.
Just in case you need them. There's holding on to a lifeline or a safety line or a way out just in case. And so what you're saying is to get rid of the just in case.
Yeah, because the question becomes, how much do we trust God to be our safety net? Now, I've told you all a few times when I met Wendy, and it's interesting, right? Because Wendy was praying as I was praying.
Yeah.
Right. We didn't know each other yet. But praying, God, send me. And I said to him, send me the one. And when you send her, when she shows up, I will know it's her. And the answer is yes.
That's good.
Right. And she showed up. I didn't know it was her immediately. All I know is, and that day I got that thing. It was like, But right. It was a different kind of
Right. I'm like, you got that.
It was like, what is this? I don't even know. There's something different about this one, right? And so we actually went into that relationship somewhat slow in the beginning, but I think slow. I mean, yeah, because she, it was just all the dance. The dance went on for a few months, but then when it happened fast, and we were married like less than a year later.
Yeah.
I believe wholeheartedly that God sent her, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it took some time for us to begin to talk and to connect, and for me to, to come to that realization. But I came to it pretty quick, and it was a little bit scary for me. And some of y'all know the story. I was like, oh wait, I think she's it. And I was like, hey, I love you. And she's just like, well, okay, cool.
Yeah. Well,
good for you.
But it's for the reason that we're talking about tonight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was coming out of a relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
A failed engagement, and there were some things that I had seen. And so when I had that, like you described it, a moment where I was like, and I said, okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I'm not gonna throw this all away. I'm gonna give you an opportunity. Here's what I'm seeing. I'm gonna need you to make an adjustment. Once you get it together, come talk to me. That's how that went down. I was like, I'm done with you until and unless you get it together. That's what happened.
That did happen.
That did happen. That did happen. But you know what? Again, having gone through some stuff, right? And you even recognizing some of the stuff that I had gone through. So it wasn't just in my previous relationships, but just in my life. A lot of things had happened. And I was at a point where I was like, you know what? I don't have to choose that, right? I can choose and create my future through trusting and believing in my faith, right? Mm-hmm. So there is, am I just going to walk the same path, and am I going to live this life believing that everything that had ever happened is going to happen again? Or am I going to now choose something different for my future? Right. And so I had to not necessarily trust that Mike was going to do the right thing, but I had to have my faith aligned. Right. So I needed to be choosing and seeking God first, which is what you just talked about, mm-hmm. and believing that he was going to send me who was meant to be my husband.
Yeah. And that's what he did. And so, but it's interesting, right? Because I remember even when I had that debate with myself, right? The night I proposed, actually, we got into a big old blow up beforehand. And for hours, I'm sitting there literally in this back and forth, internal back and forth. And then it kind of, the question started getting real clear. And the question I had to ask myself is, is this the one, do you believe that she's the one that God sent? Mm-hmm. And if the answer is yes, like, what are you waiting for? Right. Mm-hmm. But in the same way, if this is the one that God sent, what are you holding back for? Can you trust God to send you the right one, the one that's going to take care of you and your heart, right? And the one that's going to connect with you and to create something together that you can't create by yourself, right? And so that requires a decision. It requires something that feels like risk. But I'll tell you, the ability to do that, think about this. If you sleep well at night, some of y'all might not. But if you do, right, doors are locked, the alarm system's going, and you just sleep like a baby. How is it that you're able to do that? What is it that allows you to believe that all the things you have in place are going to hold up and you'll be okay? For some of y'all be like, Smith and Wesson, that's what it is for me. Yeah. Right? But what is it that allows you to get back in that car and to drive up and down the road? Mm-hmm. Right? There are things that are in place. So I think it's the things you have in place, right? The protections you have in place and the preparation that you do, right?
Yeah.
Are you prepared? How do you prepare yourself? Well, I think part of it is really just kind of understanding what is God saying to you, right? Because I think as you begin to understand that, then it also becomes much more clear what God has for you. And when he delivers it, when you're ready, you see it.
Yeah.
And so I think it's also, recognizing that God has promised, bless you, he's promised to take care of us. Mm-hmm. And so all we have to do is seek him first, right? Yeah. That seek first the kingdom of God and all other things. But I'm going to read it for you. Exactly. I'm pulling straight from the word.
Yeah. Right? And I like that Brian McNeil says faithfulness. I mean, exactly. Right. And really that whole walking in the assurances that really in often cases are beyond our understanding.
Yeah.
If it was for our understanding and our comprehension of how everything would unfold, we would never do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so being able to kind of rest in that place, the faithfulness that you described. Stephanie McNeil Barrett says, great dialogue. Thank you, Stephanie. We're glad you
Thank
could
you.
join us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you
Yeah.
found it?
Yeah. It's in Matthew.
Okay.
Matthew chapter 6, verse 33.
Okay.
And so what most people are familiar with is 33. But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Right. But if you go back before that, there's all these things, these examples that are given, right? Verse 25 says, therefore, I tell you, do not be anxious about your life, what you will eat, what you will drink, nor about your body, what you'll put on. And it continues to go through and say, God takes care of the birds and the grass and all that stuff. So certainly he's going to take care of you. I'm paraphrasing, of course.
Yeah.
And so when it says don't be anxious about your life, what does that mean to you, right? Because the very last verse, by the way, after seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you, says, therefore do not be anxious about tomorrow, for tomorrow will be anxious for itself. And so that's verse 34.
Yeah.
What that's saying to me is allow God to set it up for you, and don't worry about repeating what you went through in the past. Because if you seek him first and you are listening, right, and you're moving on his timing, then you're going to be okay, and you'll be able, I think, to love more fully, because it's very difficult to love fully when you're loving afraid, right?
Yeah, that's
So,
good.
Yeah.
You might need to say that one again. You know what you said?
I don't know, but
Yeah.
but I think if we're trusting God, we will be able to love more fully, right? Because it's very difficult to love like afraid, from an afraid place, a place of fear. So
yeah, and I mean, I think you bring up a good point. And so for people who are still kind of growing in faith, right, and still kind of figuring out that meaning for you and the meaning that it has for you, we invite you to, of course, study and learn the word of what the Word of God says for yourself, right? And so I think as we kind of share that with you, it's just like advice or guidance in any other way, right? There are people out there who want to give relationship guidance and guidance about marriage and how you should date and who you should date and what is supposed to be. And I would just say that you want to really kind of be careful about receiving guidance, just kind of, one size fits all guidance in that way, because when people are giving that kind of guidance, you really want to test it, right? You want to be able to know for yourself if that's true. And the only way to know for yourself if it's true is to be able to kind of walk that out, right? To not be afraid to take that first step, to apply some things, some thoughts, some tests in your own real life situations, not based on what somebody else said, not based on what it looks like somebody else has, and not based on what society has deemed it to be, but what you desire for yourself. When you are petitioning the Lord for what he has for you, you have to go into that knowing that you are surrendering it, right? So you have to let go of the control of your situation in order for the blessings to be able to come over your situation. If you're so tightly holding on to that thing, then it will only go as far as you can take it.
Yep. But I know what you're thinking. You're right. It's hard to let go because control is the exact thing that you want if you've been hurt.
Yeah.
Control is exactly what you want, and it is profoundly difficult to let that go. But Wendy would, I say would, she kind of often still does, often ask me when things are going a little bit sideways. And I'm like, all right, this is some old garbage and this is not what it's supposed to be, blah, 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 blah. And she will always just hit me with the simplest question. And it kind of gets on my nerves, to be honest. It's like, well, did you pray about it? Well, I mean, don't you ask me if I prayed about it? Yeah, but not yet. So
Yeah.
I would just invite you all to
That's good.
ask yourself, like, have you really not only prayed about it, but like handed it over?
Mm.
So I really, yeah, I handed over before I met Wendy. It was like, okay. I mean, I kind of had a vision of what my rest of my relationship life was going to be like, and it wasn't this. I was just like, but there's a moment when I'm just like, okay, God, and I meant it too. And it's like if you tell God like something explicitly, it's kind of hard not to move on that. But I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna give this you.
Yeah.
And it's you go through some times, and there are moments you're like, oh man, this feels familiar again, right? But it's important to stay with it. Like, yeah, it feels familiar, but is this the same thing?
Yeah.
Right. So,
and I mean, this is not exactly what we're talking about, but the constant thing in your relationships is you. So sometimes things feel familiar because you are creating the circumstance that is a similar circumstance to what it was before. And that's certainly not to blame anybody. I'm not saying you are the issue. We are our own challenge and our own problem, right? But I'm saying that to make the point that when we fill in the blanks and we add in information from the past and we try to create and control and predict our own future in that way based on our past, then we're informing that process, right? And so if this is if I'm thinking I'm seeing something now and my responses and behavior changes because of what I think I see, then I'm creating a circumstance that maybe makes that other person not trust me. Just something to think about.
So, and I think Tim Jones actually was the one who dropped something in pretty early. I think is great advice, if you will. It's a great approach, like talking about it. Like, hey, this is what I'm feeling. Here's why I'm feeling that way, and I think I know where that's coming from. Talking about those things. I often tell people, like, give the other person an opportunity to participate in the conversation.
Yeah.
Before you make decisions based on your past history. Get the other person an opportunity to be in the conversation.
Yeah.
Really important. Really hard, but will change everything. I think if we're able to do that, and if you're able to get to a place where you can feel free to love completely, you'll have some really great nights of sleep. That is. That's funny. It started coming out, and I'm like, this is not sounding like exactly what I meant
completely.
But really important. So, but we first have to, that surrender and giving things God is just hard. It is, right? But can change everything for your life.
Yeah. So what do you do in this situation? So I think you said pray about it and, kind of ask yourself, did I pray about it? And specifically, am I praying for a specific person, or am I praying for the person in relationship that God wants me to have? So you want to be specific in that. Then talk about it, right? And so I love that you said to talk about it. And thanks, Tim Jones, for kind of reminding us of that. Talking about it, but I would add to that and talk about it again and keep talking about it and then talk about it again. That never stops. At any point along the journey, there's always the opportunity to ask more questions and to share more information. Being as open as you'd want the other person to be, and really having genuine dialogue and discussion around some things. We've had people say, well, what if my spouse doesn't like to talk? Or what if my person just isn't a talker? that's fine. You have to find some way to be able to communicate with each other. Maybe they don't like to talk, but maybe they like to write. Maybe there's a certain amount of time. Let's talk for 5 or 10 minutes. Can we talk about this thing? Come to an agreement about how soon, how often, and how long you talk. Figure that out between the two of you, but that's an essential piece.
Or get them in the marriage shop and we'll talk about talking.
We'll talk about talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so pray about it, talk about it. And then, I mean, I think we just want to encourage you to keep at it, right? I mean, hang in there long enough. You know, the relationship that we are blessed with today, neither one of us thought that we would get to this place. So we did have to go through the difficult stuff. We did have to go through some of the things that were painful and that potentially could have ended our relationship with each other. We went through that in order to get to something else. And so sometimes the answer is that we quit too soon. Sometimes when you know, but you kind of want to take things into your own hands. So, you know, how much you trust, how much you believe, and how strong your faith is really something that you don't have to share with us. And we're not here to beat you up about it. We're just here to encourage you that there is a meaningful and maybe healthy and whole relationship that is waiting for you if you're single and you're not yet married. And perhaps you're married and you're still kind of in this place, right? Still reconciling some things from your past. Stay at it.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say is being able to love completely. It's a lot like swimming, actually, right? Because you can go to the water, you can piddle around in the kiddie pool. I mean, no offense for anybody who my kiddie pool people out there, right? Or you go to the beach out, up to your knees and everything, but you can't really experience the freedom of swimming until you leave your feet and you just dive in there, right? And so being able to love completely is kind of that way, right? You can experience something that feels like it. You can kind of feel the heat from it, but you can't really experience it until you just kind of let go and just jump in there. But hopefully you jump in there after having a good conversation with God about who you're jumping in there with. That's all. Yeah. All right. So we got to go. All right. But thank you all so much. You honor us by your presence. We appreciate you more than you know. So thank you.
Yeah, there's some great comments. So I hope you guys get a chance to take a look at those. And as you know, we kind of follow up with comments like after we get done, we are still commenting. So if there's a question that you have, a topic you want us to talk about, or something that you want to share with everyone else that's on the platform, feel free to do that. Doesn't just happen on Monday nights specifically, but you can always catch us here on Mondays at 7.
Yep, indeed. So with that, we are going to pray and get y'all on out of here. All right? Okay. Heavenly Father, we just come tonight just thank you for who you are and for everything you do for us in our lives. We just ask that as we depart here tonight, that you be with us, be with everyone that's here listening from wherever they're listening. We ask you continue to bless them, whether single or married. Help us all to decide what to do and how to do it based on our trust in you first. Help us to hear you clearly and to move when you say move and be with us in everything that we do. We ask you to bless these couples, bless their homes, and we'll be sure to give you the honor and the praise. Pray all these and other blessings in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right, y'all. Look, have a great week, and we will see you soon. Maybe
next
sooner
Monday.
than you thought. Bye, everybody.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's your boy JC. I'm in the mood. Love. Yeah. Lately I've been constantly thinking about you, babe. You drive me crazy. Yeah. And girl, I want this. Got me all up in my feelings. Oh, what a feeling, yeah. I knew the first time I laid eyes on you that you would be here forever. I'm not being arrogant, and I still can't take my eyes off you. 'Cause you made me better, so much better. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime, baby. Yeah. I love your kindness. I love your confidence. Ooh, you're the finest. So glad you're mine. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't wanna be with nobody else. Give me your love, that's all the wealth I need. Baby, you're priceless to me, yeah. To love you for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you for a lifetime. Yeah. Oh, promise I'ma be around. I'ma always hold you down. Won't you come and hold me now? Won't you come and hold me now? I just got a new coupe. Yeah, I know I got a roof, but I always keep it down with you. Yeah, and I know they see it. Girl, you're my queen. And beauty speaks for itself loud and clear. Yeah, so throw it in the air. It's the sweetest sound to follow my ear. And I want the world to know I'll love you forever. And that's a long time, babe. But I got time for you, baby. I'm in the mood. Ooh, for a lifetime. I'm in the mood to love you, yeah. For a lifetime, baby. Ooh, yeah. For a lifetime, for a lifetime, yeah, yeah.